Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Delta Delta Die. Popular, rich, deadly.
Written and directed by Devin Hamilton, starring Tiffany Shepis, Julie Strain, Brinke Stevens, Dain, Rachel Myers, and Steve Malice. This movie's about a sorority house filled with cannibals. These women like to attract young men into their house, cut them up, and make some Delta Delta pies.
I love Delta Delta pies. They taste great.
Before we get into things, not Patreon, but I do want to shout out Derek Smith, a longtime supporter and follower of the channel, and I have been talking about how he wanted to get back into getting to more Tiffany Shepis movies, and he's like, well, did you know Delta Delta Die is on Tubi? I'm like, I've been looking for this movie since we started filming Bloodbath in 2013, and it's apparently on Tubi, so we got to watch it in 720p. Thank you. Thank you so much, Derek. I appreciate you. Also, we're gonna be talking like pretty much the spoilers. Throwback movies, guys. We're going back to the B-movie, old school Bloodbath days. It is what it is, but there's still no cut. What do we like? I like the gratuitous amounts of nudity in this movie. When you go into a sorority house slasher and it's like mid-2000s, you almost know what you're getting. We get beautiful babes, we get lots of nudity, and it's not even like a slasher. They're cannibals. They're seducing people in the weirdest ways too. Like, absolutely, I would be seduced. Playing strip poker. Big fan of poker, and Tiffany Shepis is whooping my ass. She lures me down to the basement and does a damn strip tease. Sure, you're gonna be beside your naked buddy, but it's Tiffany Shepis, and how cool is that? And then it's like, oh, get out of here, Tiffany. Julie Strain comes down and she's just like, hey, each of you suck on my titties. That's the coolest fucking thing ever.
Then you die.
What a way to go out.
Come over here and give mommy a big kiss right here.
Yeah, and even at one point, we were a little worried for Mandy and Simone's dates because we thought they were not going to get, like, the titty death. The last couple got to play strip poker, get a lap dance, and then they got the titty death. So these guys just had the worst part of it, but they still got the titty death.
Why don't you just come over here and get your reward I promised you?
I'm gonna be honest, I was overly entertained by Brinke Stevens in this movie. Her character was a little odd, but it's her monotone voice. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Strike three, you're out.
There's like no emotion whatsoever. So when she does deliver a line or do something with emotion, it catches you off guard and it's absolutely hilarious. And it happened more than once when she like lioness jumped at the girls. It was so bad, but absolutely amazing at the same time.
The movie is not great, but it is enjoyable because it's so damn cheesy and so damn campy. Nothing is way over the top. Yeah, sure. Julie Strain is dancing around topless and grinding boys up and making them into meat pies. But most of the movie is also about Tobias and his journey to find out the truth. Are they cannibals and how can I get evidence to expose them? And the journey he goes on isn't that enjoyable, but like, everything surrounding him is. Also, that guy fucking tells everybody. He spills the tea all the time. This guy, he's like, oh shit, I think they're cannibals. And he'll walk up to anyone on the street, basically, and say, hey, did you know they're cannibals? We should check them out. Let's go spy on them. And pass it along. Tobias, keep your mouth shut.
I had a lot of fun with the soundtrack of this movie.
1, 2, 3, away we go. Let's get live and rock this show.
The song was very like dance mix, like 97.
Right, but this is 2003, but it was groovin'.
Come and get your groove on.
I also enjoyed like the weird story because you don't really know what's happening. You're like, okay, these girls want to eat guys, so that's weird because it starts off with a girl eating some dude's pecker. She gets in trouble for it, which is strange because if they're cannibals, why not?
The penis. I ate the penis.
Because the penis is germy and spermy.
Penis is filled with germs and sperm.
This movie, you don't really quite know exactly where it's going because you're like, well, what's making them do this? Is there a cult behind it? Are they witches? Are they just crazy? Yes. And finding out like the backstory of it is hilarious because they're like, oh, we accidentally killed a guy. We should dispose of the evidence by eating him. No, why don't we just serve him to other people to eat?
They serve that flesh to others.
In their pies.
Yes.
And we made money doing it at like a bake sale. let's keep doing it. And that's how we'll fund this whole sorority. That's fucking genius.
I actually enjoyed the pacing of this film. It's a wild story, but it actually like had a good flow to it.
I just remember that guy, Tobias, sneaking in to like write an email. Out pops the dean, who is also in on this whole situation. He pops up and he's like, oh, I was just plugging in my mouse. How long were you plugging that mouse in, sir? It was crazy. I don't know that was necessarily needed to be said here. You're not basing the movie on this, Jay. He was doing a Costanza, I'll bet.
Having a nap.
Once again, shout out to the babes, especially like early morning babes.
Keep your shorts on, Big Daddy.
I know damn well they're not dressing like that. Except the girl cooking the sausages, which I imagine are actual dicks. Like Tiffany Shepis and that other girl.
Clarice and Patrice.
Like imagine waking up to that.
Come and get your groove on.
How do we even go on to dislikes at this point? Well, we're here now, so what do we dislike?
It sounds nitpicky, but when we're talking about the flashback sequence here, in the casting of the house mother and Brinke Stevens' character, definitely missed the mark.
Well, that's one for the yearbook.
They were like the opposite.
At first, I didn't know who was who. At first, I thought like the wild, like touching the jock's butt and like getting all on him. I'm like, man, what was Brinke Stevens like as like a university student?
Because she looked more like Brinke Stevens than Julie Strain. And the opposite was true for the other girl, but the personalities were different. I'm gonna bet that they did cast them for those respective roles and just like swapped when they saw them like talking or something.
Patrick here was just telling me how he likes to bend over and stick his hands in other guys' asses. What?
Also, it's absolutely ridiculous how the guy died in the pool. Cause
He got punched in the face.
I just love how quick it was. He got punched and then he went in the water.
He's dead!
He's dead!
Who would believe that someone is dead from getting punched in the face?
I would think he was joking.
Joke's over, ha ha.
She's not joking, John.
And like their whole like plan. I get like we shouldn't be nitpicking such a plan, but the fact that they're like, we have to cut him up and eat him. If they called the cops and be like, he drowned, they're like, well, what happened?
I punched him.
People drown all the time.
He dived.
Yeah.
He hit his face on the goddamn ground in the pool.
Like you'd have to assume this is probably the 70s. So how good were forensics then? They think the solution is to make meat pies.
Though I heard they were delicious, John. They made a ton of money. Give them to dogs. If you're gonna cut someone up and you want to dispose of a body, you could do the Hannibal thing and feed them to pigs, or you can feed them slowly, one wiener at a time, to a dog.
Little Preston's hungry.
That's his name in the credits. Despite this being a cannibal movie, there's not a lot of kills. There's like 4, I think. And people that you think are dead aren't actually dead, and you just think they got killed off screen, but they got tied up and put somewhere. Shockingly, there is a very low amount of blood in a movie about cannibalism. We see one reasonable neck rip, which is cool, and we see a steak get, removed from a bag behind a guy's back and put into a blender. And then a dream sequence with blood being poured on young Brinke Stevens. That's it.
Even like the aftermath gore, when you have a character who takes a bite out of someone and you can't even put like a real prosthetic in their mouth to spit back at them, it doesn't feel believable and it doesn't look good.
But it is funny. And that basically summarizes a lot of this movie.
Sorority pussy bitches.
It is funny and enjoyable, but there are so many bad things. If you were to actually like sit down and nitpick everything about this, it's just like, yeah, there's tons of bad shit about it. I would love for a sequel. Like, it's not stellar, and I understand why there isn't a sequel, for sure.
20 years later, we're getting ourselves a sequel.
I think Tiffany Shepis would be on board. Brinke Stevens, maybe. She looks exactly the same. Julie Strain, unfortunately, is kind of in a weird state, and like recently everyone thought she was dead when she wasn't.
We don't know about Lizzie Strain, her half-sister.
Yeah, Julie Strain was married to TMNT creator Kevin Eastman. How cool is that? I had no idea. We went on a little tangent. Maybe we should just go to our final thoughts and ratings. I enjoyed myself a lot. It was basically what I assumed it would be, but with more nudity than expected. It's a campy B-movie that stars familiar people like Julie Strain, Tiffany Shepis, and Brinke Stevens. That's just good casting, especially for a movie called Delta Delta Die, which has an amazing title. Hot sorority babes that are cannibals. There's a lot of victims that did come through the house. We just didn't get to see the cool deaths. But there are still a lot of fun moments, and I appreciated kind of like the creeping around around by our main character, Tobias, who we almost didn't even speak of throughout our review, who is the primary character. His like discovering of everything is really enjoyable, and the movie is just fun. My rating number is low, but it's still worth checking out, and it's free on Tubi, so check it out. And I finally have the opportunity to give a movie 2 guys titty sucking 2 titties out of 5. Fuck the haters who hate me saying titties.
This is a tough one because by no means is this a quality movie, but at the same time, I strangely enjoyed myself. I had a lot of fun with this film. It's just the kind of like old movie you want to go back and not have to care about. It was still fun, but there's a lot that is missing from it. I also felt that this movie was way more clever than what people think it may be. In particular, the fact that it's human meat pies and one of the pubs was called Sweeney, related to Sweeney Todd. So there's those little like nods that you're like, if you get it, you're like, wow, they actually put some thought into this.
Actually, we just met up at Sweeney's Pub last night.
But again, we got a great cast, we got a good story. It's just the execution wasn't there, but I enjoyed it, and I feel a lot of people are actually gonna enjoy it, even though you don't get the cool kills that you would hope for. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 2.5 Ninja Turtle entrances out of 5.
Cowabunga, dudes.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, it's available for free on Tubi. The DVD is scarce. Maybe you can find it in the States, but in Canada, it was like 114 bucks on Amazon, those fuckers. Anyway, if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay up to date with everything Bloodbath and beyond.
I would just die for a Delta Delta pie.
Thanks for watching.